few months ago, we had a gathering like this in Salem with a lot of people from the Oregon side who were affected by this project, and it's really heartening to see so many people here from the Washington side who are impacted by liquefied natural gas. We're here today to send a clear message that Washington would be going the wrong direction by committing to LNG. Houston-based Northern Star Natural Gas wants to import high-priced liquefied natural gas into the Columbia River. They've been given permission to do so conditionally by FERC. And today we're here to focus on what Washington State can do to stop this project.
Yes.
Our group is comprised of farmers facing eminent domain for these pipelines that would be going through Cowlitz County, foresters facing clear cuts on their property that they've been tending for decades, fishermen and fisherwomen who are facing the loss of fishing grounds that they need to keep their businesses alive, and conservationists who seek to protect vital salmon runs and a vital salmon nursery in the Columbia River. Clearly, the breadth of opposition to this project is huge. Northern Star enjoys wide opposition in the state of Washington. More importantly than that, though, possibly, is the fact that we're joined today by people who have a strong message about what this means for Washington's energy future. Liquefied natural gas currently costs about 2 to 3 times what domestic natural gas costs. There's a real question about whether we can afford to buy into LNG at a time when we're trying to push towards renewable energy, towards energy efficiency, towards conservation. Students and others who are gathered here today who are climate activists and concerned with climate change know that we don't have time to buy into the next foreign fossil fuel addiction. And frankly, we can't afford it. So we have a number of speakers here today from all different walks of life who are going to address the state's role, and we've got people from the affected communities who are here to speak to how they've been impacted by these projects. Our first speaker has been a real leader for Southwest Washington and standing up for his constituents down here, and that's Representative Dean Takko.
Yeah.
Got a little thing I came up with last night, just kind of some feelings that I have about this. So I thought I'd just kind of read something. I've struggled over this issue of an LNG import facility at Bradwood. I've never thought of myself as a NIMBY, not in my backyard kind of person. If we'd always complained about a project in our area and were able to stop it, we would not have the infrastructure and way of life in this country that we enjoy. That's why it's hard for me to say that Bradwood site is not the place to locate a facility such as the LNG terminal. But sometimes a project is so ill-suited for a site that something must be said. Early on, I did not feel this was an appropriate place for this facility for a number of reasons, and with my seatmates from the 19th District, we wrote a letter to FERC stating our opposition to it. I've spent my entire life on the lower Columbia River. As a boy, I swam in Baker's Bay, which is just off of El Waco, and my father and his brothers were commercial fishermen on the river, and I've spent many hours myself sport fishing and boating on the Columbia. I know the lower Columbia, and I can tell you it does not make sense to locate an LNG terminal 38 miles from the ocean. Yeah! 38 miles of narrow channels and swift currents. I've seen more than one ship go aground on the lower Columbia, and they're usually pulled off without any incident. But those ships were carrying lumber, grain, and other cargo of very little danger, not millions of cubic feet of natural gas. I'm not against LNG. I'm concerned about traveling 38 miles inland to deliver LNG. Will it be safe? I don't know, but I don't want to find out the hard way. Yeah. If we were only talking about safety issues, perhaps we could find a solution that would reassure us. But this, coupled with the cumulative effect of other issues, such as impact to navigation and commerce, dredging old sediments that have been lying undisturbed for years, security of vessels, and impacts to fish, wildlife, and waters, says that this project has problems. I have to agree with Governor Gregoire when she said that the FERC approval is premature and troubling. It's a shame that we are looking at FERC approval before all the facts are in and state permits are approved. I'm happy to see that our Department of Ecology is stepping up to address these concerns that we all have through the SEPA process. I trust that they will look at the environmental impacts and safety with a keen eye before this project goes forward. Thank you.
Our next speaker is joining us from right here in Olympia. It's Jay Manning, who is the Director of Washington State Department of Ecology. Now, hasn't come out and taken a blanket no LNG position. She's taken very important steps in standing up for the people of Washington to FERC. And that's what Jay's here to help us understand today.
Welcome to Olympia, our usual sunny climate we have here. We are a regulatory agency, and it will be our job to come to a conclusion about the acceptability or the non-acceptability of this LNG proposal on the Washington side. It is a bedrock requirement of state law that we have enough information provided to us by the company and provided to FERC at the federal level before either FERC or we can make that conclusion. At this point, we do not have adequate information to come to a conclusion one way or the other. Now let me say, I know a lot of you disagree with that. You think there's plenty of evidence at this point. My job as a regulator is different than yours. My job is to be fair and unbiased towards you and the company. We're going to do that, but I can tell you right now, the governor and I have gone head-to-head with FERC before. FERC is an arrogant federal agency that doesn't care about what you think and doesn't care about what we think. The governor and I went to the U.S. Supreme Court in 1994 against FERC on a hydroelectric case, and we changed 60 years of law, and we beat FERC. If we have to do that again in this case, we will do that. So by the November 18th deadline, we will file a request for rehearing with FERC, asking them to withdraw the certificate. There is no question in our minds that there is inadequate information for FERC to be making that decision. There's lots of information that's missing, and we need to gather that up and analyze it before we make a decision. FERC and us, we do not have that information now, and if FERC does not agree, if FERC does not withdraw its certificate, we will appeal their decision to the Ninth Circuit, where we will win, and we will get this project back where it needs to be with no approval, no permission until we have an adequate environmental impact statement. We will work as hard as we can to make sure that that happens and that we make a responsible decision on this project.
And we'll be here to back you up.
So, the Columbia River, your part of the world, is an incredibly important place, an incredibly special place, and I love it that you are here working to protect it the way you are. Give yourself a round of applause for that.
In Longview.
I'll see what I can do. I will say, though, she directed me. She said to me, you exert every ounce of authority you have to make sure that FERC does its job and that you do yours. We're going to do that. Thank you very much.
Gail is a forest landowner from the Longview-Kelso area. She's president of Landowners and Citizens for a Safe Community. She's a member of the Small Woodlands Association. I'm not sure quite what else to say about it, except she's one of our best firebrands on the Lower Columbia. She's here to address what it's like to be a landowner along this pipeline.
Good morning, Olympia! Thank you, everybody, for coming out. Thank you, Dean. Thank you, Jay. It's wonderful. Why are we here? No LNG! We all have concerns related to the LNG invasion of our Northwest. On September 18th, FERC ignored all of our testimony and that of both state and federal agencies and granted the conditional permit to Northern Star. The FERC commissioners wrote in individual opinions that the states could still use their powers through the Clean Water Act and the CZMA to stop this project. That's why we are here. We're to ask and encourage our governor and our Department of Ecology to use both of these tools to defeat Northern Star. LNG flies in the face of all the governor's efforts to bring renewable energy to the state of Washington.
That's right.
LNG is a foreign fossil fuel that has a footprint that rivals coal. We do not want or need LNG. We want renewable solar and wind power. We refuse to continue enabling America's reliance on foreign hydrocarbons. Who benefits from LNG?
Oil companies.
Corporation.
Only the Texas carpetbaggers who hope to make billions at our expense.
Yeah.
Governor Gregoire, Mr. Manning, we demand that you go to the mat for your fellow Washingtonians. Deny Northern Star.
Our next speaker comes to us all the way from the Seattle area. Gerald Pollet is down here. He was co-founder of Seattle City Light Study Group and helped to steer City Light away from coal power. So Jerry's here to talk about the statewide implications.
I'm also here today on behalf of the hundreds of thousands of people in both states who have worked tirelessly for the cleanup of the Hanford Nuclear Reservation to protect the Columbia River upstream from this proposed disaster.
Yes.
Yeah!
22 years ago, thousands of citizens from Portland, Oregon, Washington linked hands on the Interstate 5 bridge in Hands Across the Columbia River to say no to Hanford being the first national high-level nuclear waste dump. Today, we're linking hands. We want hands across the Columbia River, not pipelines across the Columbia River. Our state has adopted some of the strongest global warming fighting goals in the nation, in large part thanks to Governor Gregoire and Jay Manning. And the citizen group efforts of the citizen groups represented here today, those global warming fighting targets for our state will be busted by LNG. We cannot allow an oil company to drive a hole right through our goals for reducing our carbon footprint. We have to stand strong. We have to say to the state of Washington, we're with you when you promise us an adequate environmental impact statement, and that means it will definitely include examination of how much more LNG increases the carbon footprint and emissions regardless of where it is burned. It is our responsibility not just to watch out for whether or not gas is burned in the state of Washington, but anywhere when we enable the addiction. This is about making sure that the state of Washington does not enable the addiction and further harm our planet with emissions of carbon. We can lead the nation in saying there's a path. It's clean, renewable energy. It is not a pipeline across the Columbia River and through Washington State in violation of all the goals that we have worked so hard to establish. Now, we have a big fight in front of us, not only on this one pipeline, but all the special interests that will line up in the state of Washington this coming year to say, we want our own pipeline, our own hole, our own coal, our own LNG to be driven through with an exemption from our state's goals for reducing global warming. We have to draw the line right here on the Columbia River, hands across the Columbia River, not pipelines across the Columbia River. Thank you, everyone.
So our next speaker, Rebecca Wolfe, is here representing Columbia Sierra Club.
Hi, everybody. I'm really pleased to be here representing the 30,000 plus members of the Cascade chapter of the Sierra Club. We support Governor Gregoire. We have endorsed her. We think she's wonderful. She helped us get our 4 environmental priorities passed last year, which was almost a miracle. And we want her to continue our reputation as a leading state on renewable and sustainable and clean energy. I was one of those people who worked for I-937, and we got it passed, and now we can't let them take the money away so that we can do what we need to do. Did you know first of all, no longer is there a dispute about whether the planet is warming. It is warming. Yeah. Don't call it global climate change, call it global warming. It is warming. Did you know that liquefied natural gas is mostly methane. Methane is 25 times worse than CO2. And we cannot tolerate that if we want a clean environment. We have to stop it now. Yeah. Don't let them get a foot in the door, because if we do, it's just going to get worse. It is foreign fossil fuel. When you factor in the shipping and the destruction to habitat and the danger to human beings, we want to protect salmon, the climate, and the people of this wonderful state. So please stand with us. Thank you.
Our next speaker comes to us from Puget Island, Washington. George lives in Alaska. George is chair of Wahkiakum Friends of the River and a board member for the Columbia River Business Alliance. He's also a multi-decades shipping marine engineer. This is George Exum.
I want to thank Representative Takko, because 3 years ago when we started this fight, and I went to Dean, he had lots of questions. And he went out and he got the answers. He talked to Representative Baird, who took a position early on this. He talked to his constituents. He talked to Northern Star. And he realized after doing all that there was LNG is unsuitable on the Columbia River. Yeah. Through his efforts, he was able to talk to Governor Gregoire, and that's why Jay Manning's here today, because of the efforts of Dean Takko. And first off, I want to, everyone should thank him for that. His efforts. You know, the Columbia River is a bi-state resource. You know, this project's in Oregon, but it affects people on both sides of the river. They want to use eminent domain to take property away from people in Cowlitz County and in Oregon for private profit. You know, most projects in this realm are supposed to be for the good of all. This is for private property. You know, a lot of people are saying, why should we be concerned now because FERC has done this, you know, already approved this? Well, you know, both Governor Gregoire and Governor Kulongoski said the FERC process is fatally flawed. And there are many reasons, you know, that regulatory oversight does not always work. You know, all you got to do is read the newspapers right now. The economy is in shambles. And why is that? Well, there's a lot of reasons, but one of them was lack of regulatory oversight. Yes. And we have FERC, which has regulatory in its name, but that R really stands for rubber stamp. That's right. You know, 3 years ago, the chair of FERC was asked, how many LNG facilities do we need? He said in the intermediate future, possibly 8. Since that time, FERC has approved 20 sites. Now, you know, unfortunately, FERC is the poster child for the best government money can buy. You know, they do not listen to the common person. They listen to oil companies. So, in conclusion, we need to take a teenage TV icon, and we need Buffy and the governments of both states and all the citizens to drive a wooden stake through the evil heart of LNG that's trying to suck the lifeblood out of it.
I just want to say thank you all so much for being here today. I have come to expect in these events to see a broad range of people, as our coalition is so diverse. And today I see exactly that. I see students, I see baby booming activists, I see landowners who are affected by the pipelines, I see community members who are not directly impacted by this infrastructure, but see the need to protect their neighbors and to protect our environment from a devastating project that would ruin salmon habitat, cut through national forest, and ruin the lives of farmers throughout the state of Oregon and Washington. Thank you all so much for being here. one thing that I know is that every time I speak to folks about LNG, the more they find out, the more just outraged they become.
Yeah.
Whether you've been working on this for 4 years as a resident of the Lower Columbia region, whether you're a student who found out about this in the last week, I appreciate you all being here. And I'd like to just do one thing, just to identify who we all are here today. Can I get a shout out from students? Woo! How about landowners who are impacted? How about folks who don't have land on pipelines or near terminals who are just here to support their communities? That's right. So thank you all so much for being here. We're going to be here for another half hour or so. We're going to give you a little bit of direction in a little bit, but in the meantime, we'd like you all to talk to each other, find out each other's stories. One of the most empowering things about this movement is hearing the testimony of people who are directly impacted by these infrastructure. What I can say from having worked on this for the past year is the coalition that we have built here to fight LNG is the coalition that will move forward after we defeat these projects to promote renewable energy and conservation efforts.
Young people are getting together and pushing people to vote for clean and renewable energy choices and pushing our candidates to make the decision for that direction. And our platform is we want green jobs, we want investment in renewable energy, and we want money to come out of the fossil fuel industry.
Yes.
So, what we have here are these pledges saying that I pledge to vote for clean and just energy in this next election, so we can use this power to pressure our candidates. We're building a base of 1 million people in the country, so I really need everybody's help on this. And you can do it online at powervote.org.
There's a lot of different ways to look at the cost of liquefied natural gas. The most important thing we're looking at right now is the fact that if we start dumping energy dollars into foreign fossil fuel, we're going to have that much less money to invest in conservation and efficiency and renewable energy. Right now, liquefied natural gas costs 3 to 4 times what we're paying for North American natural gas. And the price of getting natural gas is going up all over the place. So what we need to do is rapidly move ourselves in the direction of efficiency, conservation, and renewable energy. We don't have time to waste. That's why we saw so many students out here today at this rally, because for their generation, they simply can't afford to see us commit money for them for the next 20 to 50 years to an infrastructure that's going to cost billions to build and billions to the taxpayers every year to maintain and operate. So that's one of the big messages we're trying to send to the governor here today is if she's serious about renewable energy, she's got to be serious about being no LNG.